What's up, everybody? I'm Brendan. I'm a full stack developer based in Brooklyn, New York, and today I'm going to be walking you through the solution for the Boredless Tourist project. This is a project written in 100% Python code, and we are going to be talking all about lists, functions, and loops in Python. Now, you might be wondering, why are we talking about lists, functions, and loops in Python? And we're going to be talking about this stuff because this is the core of any language, not just Python, but anything. Any language when it comes to computer software. You need lists to store information. And when I say list, you can literally think of a bullet point list. Brendan's favorite TV shows on Netflix, the list would be The Office, It's Always Sunny, of course, Arrested Development. A list in Python is exactly what it sounds like in English. A list is just a list of information. Now, when we're talking about lists in the world of software and development, we refer to what's inside of a list as an element. So if I kind of keep up with my Netflix analogy, the Brendan's favorite Netflix shows, there's going to be multiple elements. The first element will be The Office. Second element will be Arrested Development. Third element would be It's Always Sunny. Lists are lists. Now, functions are a way to interact with data. So a function, you can pass information to a function, and based on what you pass, you can actually use that information that you pass to it to modify a list, and we're going to actually be doing a lot of that today. But functions can really be used for anything. They can be used to calculate like math problems or math calculations. They can also be used to manipulate data. And why is manipulating data such a big thing of software development? Well, when you enter the world of software, you're going to realize that you're going to be constantly working with data. You're going to be working with a database. Now, in layman's terms, a database can be thought of exactly like a Excel spreadsheet. So let's say there's a table, and that table's label is Brendan's favorite Netflix shows. For each row in that Excel spreadsheet, there's going to be a show. So there's probably going to be a column for the name of the show, a column for maybe when it came out, as well as maybe the most recent episode of that show that I've watched. And for each row, there's going to be different shows. So for the first row, there'll be The Office. Second row, It's Always Sunny. Third row, Arrested Development. This is, I want to say, 70% of a software developer's life is working with this data, manipulating this data, updating things in the back end so that when I watch a new show that I've never watched before, I'm trying to think of a show that's super popular that I don't really watch. Skins? Is that a show? Or Suits? That's a show. I have no interest in watching it. Maybe I should watch it. But anyways, when I begin to watch that, what's actually happening in Netflix's backend is that it notices that, oh, I watched this new show, Skins. Let's use a function. Let's name this function add show to favorite favorite list of shows. And what are we going to pass that function? Well, we're going to pass it this new show that I'm watching, so that we can take that new show and add it to my list of my favorite shows. And loops are just an easy way for us to avoid hard coding things. You've got a bunch of lists of shows, and let's say you want to print the list of shows to the console so that we can see all the shows in my queue. Now, we could hard code for every element in my list of favorite shows, print out The Office, print out It's Always Sunny, print out Arrested Development, print out Skins. Or we can avoid hard coding all of that completely and use loops. And loops are extremely powerful because with a loop, we literally say, hey, computer, given this list, go through each show in this list of Brendan's favorite Netflix shows and print the name of that show to the console. So we don't have to do any of the hard coding. Hey, computer, print out The Office, print out It's Always Sunny. We don't have to do that. We just say, hey, computer, look at this list of Brendan's favorite shows, and for each show in that list, print it out. Print out the name of the show to the console. All right, so let us dive into this project. This is a very long project, so make sure you go very slow, and I'll also be reading each step very slowly. So yeah, and if things get a little confusing, make sure you kind of go back to the beginning because this, this is going to take some time. All right, so let's begin. The Boredless Tourist. Welcome to the Boredless Tourist, an online application giving you the power to find the parts of the city that fit the pace of your life. We at Boredless Tourist run a recommendation engine using Python. We first evaluate what a person's interests are, and then give them recommendations in their area to venues, restaurants, and historical destinations that we think they'll be engaged by. Let's get started. So before I start with step one, let me just translate what we're actually building. We are going to be building out basically a list, like a profile. So it's going to have a name, it's going to have the current city that you're in, as well as the interests. And based on your interests, we're going to write a bunch of functions. Based on your location and your interests, we're going to build a bunch of different methods and lists that will recommend certain destinations to you based on where you are and what your interests are. And this is all going to be done through functions, lists, and what else? Functions, lists, and loops. All right, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about Git. You can see step one, and I'll explain it once I read it here. So let me just start. We here at the Boredless Tourist believe that mistakes should be easily corrected. So we keep all of our code version controlled. Using Git. Start by running git init in the terminal. What does it mean by code version controlled? Well, when you're working on a project, we have this awesome tool in our software development tool bells called Git. And what Git does is it takes snapshots of our code. So let's say we're typing along, blah, 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 and we want to save it. Sure, we can save it on our computer, but we can also use this powerful tool called Git, which will literally look at our code and take a snapshot and kind of keep track of the changes that we've made, when we've made them, so that in the future, maybe we don't like what we did yesterday, so let's kind of roll back the code to the beginning of yesterday and kind of start with a clean slate. We can do that with the power of Git because it literally takes snapshots of our code. So the first step to kind of being able to use this tool is to initialize a Git repository. And this is just part of the syntax for using Git. The first step of using Git is that you have to initiate Git. So that's what we're going to do here with a git init. What this does is creates a folder in our project. And every time we're going to commit changes through git commit, we're going to git commit our changes, meaning, hey, Git, take a snapshot of the code so that I'll have a bunch of, basically a history of what my code looked like, labeled when it happened, when I took that snapshot, etc. It's basically just like a history tab in your Internet Explorer or Safari. Okay, so step one is done. Let me get rid of this too. Step two. Whoa. Step two, we'll be doing most of our coding in script.py, so we want to make sure that we are tracking that in Git. Add script.py to Git staging area. Okay, so the second part of making sure that Git will be able to see the different code that we're writing and take snapshots is to actually add a particular file that we want Git to keep track of. So by doing git add and then the file name, we're saying, hey, Git, make sure that you're looking and keeping track of the changes that I'm making here. So step two is done. And then step three, let's create the first commit for this project. Perform a git commit with the initial message initial commit. So we've said, hey, Git, I want you to start keeping track of this. Now, git commit is like hitting the save button or like the hitting the click button or the take a picture button. I forget what the button is called on a camera, but it's basically, all right, I told you to pay attention. Now it's time to finally save what I told you to pay attention to, Git. And this /m, it's just part of the syntax. It means message. It's referred to as a flag. And we're going to flag this with a message of initial commit. And down the line, when you start working with other people, it's nice to see that each commit that a person does has like a nice description or message attached to it. And that's what we usually do. I'm not really being very descriptive here because it's initial commit, but down the line you'll see that these messages become more and more descriptive as we add more and more code. All right, so Git has officially taken a snapshot of our code when I typed in git commit m blah 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 5 seconds ago. All right, step 4. Now let's create some data that we're going to use to test the functionality that we created for the Boredless tourist. The first is our list of destinations that we're going to be using. Create a list with the following destinations and save it into a variable called destinations. And it gives us a list of all these destinations. All right, so let's create a list, and we're going to save it to a variable called destinations so that we'll have access to all of the elements in that list. And I'm going to pause the video for now because it takes a while for me to type, but when I come back, I will have a list created with all of these different places inside it. All right, and I'm back, and notice how for each element I have them separated by commas, part of the syntax, except for the last one. Notice the last one doesn't end in a comma because it's the last one. If it's the last element in a list, you don't need to put a comma. And the comma is just Python's way of saying, all right, this is one element, then this is the next element, and this is the next element, etc., etc. So step 4 is done. Step 5, and let's define a test traveler to see how our functionality is working so far. Create a test traveler variable, assign it to the following list. This is a traveler, a user of the Boredless tourist application, whose name is Aaron Wilkes, who likes historical buildings and art. Aaron is in China right now. Hopefully we can find some good places to show her. Sweet. I hope she's having a lot of soup dumplings in Shanghai because that is the spot for soup dumplings. Anyway, create this test traveler, and we're going to set test traveler equal to this list, and notice that this list actually has another list inside it. So this is possible. It's like the matrix. You can have a list inside another list, honestly forever. And yeah, don't get scared when you see a list inside of another list, because we're going to tackle how we can actually grab a list inside a list in the next few steps. What you can think of in this test traveler variable is that this is basically when you log on to Netflix, this is your profile. So the database knows that the first element in this list is your name, the second one is where you live, and the third one is a list of your interests. All right. Okay, step 5 is done. Step 6. Looks like we've got some good sample data to get started with. Let's commit these changes first, save the file, save. Then add script.py to the git index using git add. Okay, so I'm going to say git, hey, we've made changes. Oops, I'm sorry. Put the name of the file. Hey git, we just made changes to this file, and we want to save these changes. So what does it say? Step 7. Next, perform a git commit with the message added test objects. Added test objects. Okay, so it's taking another snapshot of our code. All right, step 8. Now that we have test data for a traveler and a list of destinations that we can use, we can start building some of the Boredless tourist functionality. When a traveler arrives at a destination, we want to know where they are. Since we use lists for all of our data, we are going to identify each location based on its index in our destinations list. But we need to retrieve that index first. Define a function called getDestinationIndex. It should take a single parameter destination, the destination, as a string. Okay. Remember, when we are defining a function in Python, we have to first use def to define a function and designate it as such. Index, and it says that it takes one parameter, and we're supposed to call it destination. Remember, there also needs to be a colon there. All right, so that's good for step 8. Step 9, in the body of getDestinationIndex, find the index of destination and save the results in a variable called DestinationIndex. So destination index is equal to, we've got a list of destinations, and when we call this function, we're actually going to be passing in the name of a destination. So let's say we want to know what is the index in this list. Basically, what we're saying is, tell me where this destination that we're passing in, is located in this destinations array. So if we're passing in Paris, France, where is Paris, France located in this list? Is it at the end? Is it at the middle? Or is it at the front? That's what we're asking this function to do. So we're going to say, hey, look at our destinations list and tell me the index of the city that we're looking for. So this .index method takes in a particular element in this array, or sorry, this list, and returns what index it's located at. Remember, when we're talking about indexes and lists, elements actually start not at a count of 1. So though this is the first element in the array, in order to access, in the list, in order to access it, we would have to type destinations brackets 0, not 1, because lists are indexed starting at 0. So this is the first element, but it's actually the 0th element in Python's mind. This would be the first element in Python's mind, and et cetera, second, third, fourth. Okay. And I'm going to pause it because I need to plug in a charger. All right. Step 10. In the body of getDestinationIndex, after you've defined destination-index, return it. So destination-index is defined, and after that, it's telling us to return it. Destination-index. And that is it for step 10. You might be wondering, why is it asking us to return it? And eventually what we're going to be doing is, down the line, we're going to be using this function in other functions. We're going to be passing this function a name of a destination, and we want to know where it's located. And we want to know, we want to know where it's located. And in order for it to tell us where it's located, we need to say, hey, return to us where it's located. If we just put destination index and didn't specifically return it, down the line when we say, let me create a variable, give me index, and we set that equal to this function, destination index, and the name of the destination, Shanghai, China. Give me index is not going to be equal to anything, because when we defined this function, we didn't say what it is we want to return. What's the value that we want to return? We want to return this. Without this return here, give me index would literally equal nothing. We need this return here so that we can grab on to the data that we defined in here. Okay. Save that. Step 11, test out your function. Try to call getDestinationIndex with the argument Los Angeles. Okay, so let's print call that function and pass it the destination of Los Angeles, USA. Oh man, I've already turned off my notifications. Let me do it one more time. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so what do you think is going to happen here? We're going to call this function. So we're going to hit here, and based on whatever we pass to it, this time it's Los Angeles, USA. What's going to happen is it's going to read this line, it's going to look at our destinations list, and it's going to say, all right, where is Los Angeles, USA located? What's the index of Los Angeles, USA in our destinations list? And 0, 1, 2, 3, it should return 3. And why are we going to see 3? Because we literally told it, hey, once you find where it's located, tell me the index and then return it to me. So when we pass this function with Los Angeles to this method here, print, we should see 3. Okay, so let's save that. Step 12, save your code and then run it by typing python3 script.py in the terminal. Oh, I'm sorry. It should be equal to 2. Sorry, it should be equal to 3. It should be equal to 2 because remember, lists are always starting at 0. So this is the 0, 1, 2. So it is the third element, but what we're going to be seeing is the index of that element. So though it's the third element, it is the 0, 1, 2, the second index element in this list. So let's see when we run this file. And when we say python3 script.py, we're saying to our computer, use Python to run the file script.py. And it reads the file, it goes, all right, destinations is a list. This test traveler is also a list. I see you've defined a function here. And I see down here that you're actually calling that function. And what you want me to do, Brendan, is print out whatever is returned by this function. So we should see 2 here. Let's see what happens. And look at that, you see 2. So that, now we know that Los Angeles is located in destinations at the second index. So destinations bracket 2 would equal Los Angeles, USA. All right, step 13. What happens if we call get destination index with a destination not in our destinations list? Try it out now. Called get destination index with the argument Hyderabad, India. Hopefully I'm not butchering that name, although I probably am. Let's see what happens. Save it and run the file again, and we get a value error. Hyderabad, India is not in list. What list? Destinations list. And that's right, there's no Hyderabad, India. Hyderabad? Okay, step 14. If you use the index method to get the index of a destination from the list, you'll notice that calling getDestinationIndex with data that is missing from our destinations list will raise a value error. Don't add any logic to avoid triggering this value error. It's going to be useful for us in the future. Okay, I'll trust you with that one. Step 15. Now let's define a function called getTravelerLocation. GetTravelerLocation is going to take a single parameter traveler. So I'm going to remove this line for now because that was just us testing to see if the function was working correctly, which it was. Let's define this new function. So def getTravelerLocation. And it's going to take a single parameter. We want us to call it traveler. In the body of getTravelerLocation, access the traveler's destination string and save it into traveler destination. Okay, so it wants us to save the destination of a traveler. Based on this test traveler, I see that the destination is the second element in the list, or it's the element indexed at 1. So based on the traveler that we pass in, and if all the travelers that we're passing in are structured the same, which should be a thing because think about it, if everyone's profile on Facebook was structured the same, then how would the software engineers at Facebook be able to keep up with all of these different waves of people structuring their profiles? The answer is they wouldn't. That's why we need to keep things like this structured exactly the same so that it's easier for us to scale when we add more users. All right. Step 17, use traveler destination along with get destination index to retrieve the index of the destination where the traveler is. Save the index of the traveler's destination into the variable traveler destination index. So it wants us to use traveler destination index as a variable name, and that should use traveler destination along with get destination index to retrieve the index of the destination where the traveler is. So we know where our traveler is right now because we know that it's going to be the index 1 element in their kind of traveler profile list. So now that we have the name of the destination ready to go, we can use this function that we just built up here and pass it the name of the destination. So let's pass traveler destination and, sorry, get destination index. So what this is doing is it's calling this function, and based on what city that we pass it, and remember here the traveler is structured like this, where the second element in this list is the destination, and that's how we're accessing this traveler's destination here. We're saying look at the traveler list, look at this second element or the element indexed at 1, set it equal to this variable traveler destination, and pass that variable to this function get destination index. And what that does is it says if we're passing it test traveler, which we're not in this case, this is just a parameter. This is just a filler for when we begin to pass it different data. But let's just say we pass it test traveler for now. Get traveler location, test traveler, Shanghai, China. It calls get destination index, and it looks to our destinations list and it says, all right, where's Shanghai, China located? It's located, it's the second element, and it has an index of 1 because this is the 0th element and this is the 1th element. Okay. Step 18, make get traveler location return the destination index of the traveler by returning traveler destination index. Okay. So what's the use of writing all of this stuff if we're not going to be able to pass it or use that data? We need to use this data, and how are we going to be able to use it in the future? Well, we need to return whatever we want to get from that function. So down the line, we can call get traveler location, pass it a traveler list, and save that data into a variable so that we can have access to this. All right, step 19, create a variable called test destination index. Save the results of calling get traveler location with our test traveler. Test destination index is going to be equal to that function that we just wrote, traveler location. And we're going to be passing it in an example of a traveler, this test traveler up here. And I see in step 20 it says print out test traveler index. We need to print this so that we can see in the console if it's actually working. Okay, so let me save that. And what do you expect to see? I think I know. Uh-oh. Name error. Name traveler destination is not defined. Traveler destination. Ah, spelled it wrong here. This now equals that. Let's see what happens now. Sweet. I called it. Shanghai is indexed at 1 in this list. This is the 0th index element. This is the 1st indexed element. I'm saying that weird, but that's just how I do. Okay, save your code and run it by calling python3 script.py in the terminal. Is the test destination index you created equal to 1? It sure is. There's 1 right there. All right, step 22. Let's save our work to the Git tracker. Add script.py to the Git index with git add. Okay, Git, get ready to save our code. Make sure you're looking at the code that I've changed in script.py. And take that snapshot. Step 23, and commit your changes with the message. Okay, copy and paste that. And it has been snapshotted. 24, now we want to create and maintain a list of attractions. Let's start by defining a list called attractions. Okay, I'm going to take this out for now. And attractions is going to be equal to a list. 25. Actually, we want attractions to be an empty list for every destination in destinations. You can do this with this code. Okay. But there are other ways to accomplish the same thing, by looping through destinations or with a list comprehension. Define attractions to be a list of 5, one for each test destination, empty lists using a loop or list comprehension. All right, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to pause this video and come back with some code and some more explanations. All right, I am back. And it said, define attractions to be a list of 5 empty lists using a loop or list comprehension. Okay, so this first example of a loop is here, line 15. So I've defined attractions, and then below that I use a for loop. So I say for every destination in the destinations list, remember destinations is up here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 destinations in this destinations list. So I say for every element, for every destination, and you can label whatever you want each element to be referred to as whatever you want here, but I found it's useful to actually name it what it is. So it's looking at the destinations list and it's saying, look at everything, every one of these elements, whatever you want to call it. I called it a destination. And what is it doing? Well, for every time or for every destination, meaning this for loop is going to run 5 times because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are 5 destinations in this destinations list. I'm saying, look at this attractions, which is a list, an empty list, and add another empty list to the end of it. So it's going to add 5 empty lists to the end or inside this attractions list. And notice here that I've got this commented out right now, but it actually accomplishes the same thing, and this is just fancy syntax. So notice that attractions is a variable, and it's equal to an array, or sorry, a list, and it's using a for loop, but it's saying um, basically for however many destinations are in the destinations list, add a list, an empty list. I'm going to take that out for now. Just know that this here is just fancy syntax for what I'm doing up here. Yeah, it's a little shorter, but I think this is a little more clear here. You can kind of decide which one you want to use. I'm going to take that out for now. Step 25 is done, and just remember that honestly you could have went something like this and done that 5 times, but that's a lot of work, and we want to let the computer do all most of the work for us. So a for loop is great here for that. Print out your attractions. Save and then run your code by typing python3 script.py in the terminal. Does attractions look like that? All right, so after that for loop has finished, we want to print attractions. Looks like now. Save that. And notice if you hit the up arrow on your keyboard, you can see all the past commands that you've written. Indentation error. Expected an indented block. Huh. Python is tricky because everything needs to be indented correctly for it to run perfectly. So let me save that. I think this should work now. Perfect. And 5 empty lists inside my one major list, just like this. All right. 27. Now let's create a function called add attraction. This function should take 2 parameters: destination, the name of the location, and attraction, the attraction. Right. Find a new function called def add attraction, and this is going to take 2 parameters: destination and an attraction. And remember, it doesn't matter how we label the parameters that we're passing in. What matters is when we want to change or do something with the first element that we pass in, you need to make sure that in the body of this function that you're defining, that let's say you want to change destination and not attraction, well, it wouldn't make sense in the body of the function to say attraction equal to, I don't know, like cheese or something. And yeah, the context says, hey, I want to change destination. Well, you wouldn't change whatever we passed in, the first element that we passed in, by saying, hey, look at the second element that we passed in and change it. You'd say, look at the first one and change it. Now, that's probably pretty common sense for most of you, but I just want to make sure that that's clear. Okay. All right, step 28. First, we should attempt to find the index of the destination. Use getDestinationIndex with the passed in destination in order to retrieve the index of the destination. Save the result into destination index. All right, so we've actually written a function for this, if you can remember. It's up here, getDestinationIndex. So getDestinationIndex, pass it the destination that we're passing into this function, and whatever it gets returned from that function, set it equal to this destination index variable so that we can use it later. 29. What happens if the destination passed in to add attraction doesn't exist? Right now we want to ignore it. Add a try block to the body of add attraction and catch the possible value error that could happen when you define destination index. So what does that mean? There's this thing called a try block. So let's say you want to try to get the destination index of destination, But what happens if we pass in a destination that doesn't exist in our destinations list, like we did it before, that place in India? Then we get an error. We get that value error, remember? And this is how we're able to handle those value errors with this try, and the other half of this kind of try block is an except. So if this error is out, if we can't find the destination in our destinations list, then what do? Well, it then hits this line here. It says, all right, there's a syntax error, can't find it, and then we say return nothing. Yeah. In your except block, we don't want to add an attraction to a destination we don't have, so simply return. So that's why we just returning. We're not, if we're not able to find it, okay, that's fine. We don't want to add it to our list of destinations. 31. If the destination does exist, then we already have a list for it in attractions. Use the destination index to find the appropriate list in attractions and save that list to attractions for destination. Okay, so if we succeed, if there's no syntax error, what do we want to do? We want to first look at the attractions array and look at the particular index in that attractions list. I think I just said array. I keep on getting that confused. It's a list. Remember, it's a list. Because this is 5, we're basically saying, all right, if we're looking for Paris, France, and we've got our list of attractions here, and there's 5 empty lists. Each of those 5 lists correspond to each of the destinations that we have. We want to add a attraction for the Paris, France destination. So we would say, all right, look at our attractions list, which is currently 5 empty lists inside a big list, and we say, all right, look at the 0th empty list, and let's add this attraction to it. So how do we do that? We say, all right, we've found our corresponding attraction that is mapped to the 0th list in that attractions list, and that corresponds to the 0th element in our destination. So what are the attractions that are in France? Or sorry, yeah, Paris, France. And we say, all right, we know which list in our attractions list corresponds to Paris, France. Let's add attraction. We're passing into this function. Geez, I can't type. Like that. 32. Append the attraction passed into add attraction to the list attractions for destination. That's all we want this function to do. So we can return after adding the attraction to the list. So if we're trying to add an attraction to a destination that doesn't exist in our destinations list, this function will literally do nothing. Why? Well, it'll try to find that destination. When it doesn't, there's going to be a syntax error that's thrown, and this statement here will catch that, and what will happen? It'll just return nothing, or we won't get an error in our console anymore like we would before. We'll just return nothing. We say, yeah, I know there's an error. I don't care. So just return nothing. Now, if there is no error, we say, awesome. I know exactly where the corresponding attraction list that I want to add this attraction to is located. So this destination is Paris, France. I know that this master attractions list with 5 empty lists in it right now corresponds to all of the destinations I have: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this is a list of 5 empty lists. We say, all right, I know we're looking for Paris, and I want to add an attraction to the list of Paris, France attractions. So let's grab the first list in the attractions list, which corresponds to Paris, France, and add this attraction. All right. Step 33. Try adding the following attraction. Venice Beach to the Los Angeles, USA destination by calling add attraction with the to as arguments. All right, so that's saying let's test out our function that we just wrote. Okay, so add attraction, name of the destination, so the name of the destination that we're looking for in our destinations list is Los Angeles, USA, and the attraction that we want to add is Venice Beach. So what do you expect this to do? Let's kind of walk through it. Add attraction, we call this function, and it takes our destination, Los Angeles. It finds it if it exists in our destinations list, which it does. It's right here. And now that we know that it's located at the second index, not the second element in the array, it's actually the third element in the array, but it's located at the position of index 2 in our destinations array. So this is equal to 2, and then it says, all right, look at our attractions list, which is a list of 5 empty lists corresponding to the 5 destinations in our destinations list. It says, okay, I know that the empty list at the index of 2 in our attractions list corresponds to Los Angeles. Add this attraction. And that is spelled completely wrong. So there we go. So it's going to look at attractions at the third empty list in attractions and add this to it. Okay. Step 34, print out attractions, then save and run your code with Python 3 script.py. Your print statement should render the following. Okay, so let's see if it does that. So let's look at our attractions list, because after all, that's what this function is changing. If it's able to find the destination, it's not able to find the destination, then it doesn't do anything. But what this is doing here is it's looking at this attractions list and it's saying, all right, at the index of 2, add this stuff. So attractions here is actually getting changed. And on line 27, we'll be able to see that change. Hopefully, we'll be seeing this. Save that, run the code. Expected an indented block. Okay, so again, the tricky part of Python here, everything needs to be indented correctly. I think that should be good. Oh no, this needs to be indented too. Save. All right. Oh no, this needs to be indented. What's going on here? Looks good to me. Indentation error, line 23. Okay, sweet. Right. And there it is. It's now the third element in our attractions list is now equal to another list, the name of the attraction, and I guess this is a label of what that attraction is. It's beach. So this is the one element that we added to that list. And this is, again, this is still like the master, all-encompassing list, the third list in that attractions list. Lots of lists. Okay, step 35. Let's add a few more interesting places to go. Paste the following code to add a few more attractions. Wow. Okay, I'm going to take this. And our attractions list is about to get pretty big. Save that. All right, and let's add that change. All those changes that we've made since our last commit. And let's say, hey, snapshot. Step 37, then commit the changes with the message. Blah, blah, blah. All right. 38. We want to be able to help our travelers find the most interesting places in a new city for them. In order to do that, we need to match their interests with possible locations in a city. Write a function called findAttractions that takes two parameters, destination, the name of the destination, and interests, a list of interests. Right. And the new function, two parameters, destination, and interests. With that colon. That. 39, we'll need the city's destination index to look up its attractions in our attractions table. Create a variable called destination index and save the destination's index to it using getDestinationIndex. Okay. We've used this function a bunch of times already, so it should be familiar. GetDestinationIndex, pass it the name of the destination, and then save the index of that destination to this variable here. 40. Look up that destination's attractions by indexing into attractions with destination index. Save this into the variable attractions in city. Okay, so now that we know the index of the destination, we also know that attractions list has those 5 lists that correspond to each destination in our destinations list. So with that destination index, we can say, look at the list attractions at the index of destination index, and that'll show us all of the attractions for that particular destination. #41. Create a new list called attractions with interest. Make it empty when declaring it. We'll save attractions into this list if they match one of our interests. And it's going to be an empty list. 42. Create a loop over attractions in city, saving each item in the list into the temporary variable possible attraction. Okay, so for every attraction in this particular destination's attractions list, let's iterate over them with a for loop. So for attraction in attractions in city, which we get here, which points to, remember, up here we have our ginormous attractions list with all the different lists inside each list corresponding to that destination, whatever index that destination is. We want to say, all right, create this temporary variable possible attraction. And then remember the tags. So if this is an attraction Cairo, Egypt, the tags would be the second element in that list. And notice here that, yeah, sorry, maybe that's not a good one. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is the tag, and it's another list. And basically this tag labels whatever the name of this attraction is. Egyptian Museum? Well, it's a museum. If this user is interested in museums, then the Egyptian Museum would be a good place to go if that user was in Cairo. "43. For each attraction, retrieve the tagged information about it. The tags are all saved in the second place index 1 in the attraction. In the body of the for loop, save the attraction's tags into the variable attraction tags." And I've already done that here. So we're iterating over each attraction. Okay, so we've got this attraction here, and we want to say, okay, give me the list of tags for this corresponding attraction. Egypt Museum, what is it? What is it? Okay, it's a museum. Those are the tags. Pyramids of Giza, okay, what are the attraction tags? Well, here is another list, monument and historical site. 44. After retrieving the attraction tags, we want to see if any of the given interests are in attraction tags. In order to do this, we're going to loop through the interests and check if any of them are in attraction tags. Create a for loop in the body of the current for loop to loop through each interest in interests. Okay. So for every attraction in attractions, for every attraction in the list of attractions for the city that we're in, what do we want to do? We want to say, for all of my users' interests, for every interest in the interests that I'm passing in. Remember, we're passing in the interest here. We want to see if this particular interest is inside our attraction tags. If we're interested in a museum, is Cairo a place that we should go? If we're interested in monuments, should we visit the pyramids of Giza? That's what we're kind of trying to figure out here. And Python actually has great syntax for this. So for each interest in interests, if interest is in the attraction tags list. So for the current interests that we're iterating over in our list of interests, if this interest is in this other list, attraction tags, so if, let's say, we're interested in historical sites and we're currently iterating over, so we're currently in Cairo and we're looking at all the attractions in Cairo. We see that Pyramids of Giza is an attraction. We see that there are a bunch of tags located at the index of 1 for this attraction. And we're interested in historical site. So we pass in our interests. And though we're not interested in monuments, we are interested in historical sites. So eventually, when we see that we're iterating over our interests, which is a historical site, and we want to know if historical site is in attraction tags. And if we're looking at the Cairo, Egypt attractions, and we're looking at this particular attraction, Pyramids of Giza, and we're looking at the tags of Pyramids of Giza, is historical site in Pyramid of Giza's attraction tags? It is. So if it is, then what? For every interest in interests, check if that interest is in attraction tags. If the interest is in the attraction tags, append possible attraction to attractions with interest. Remember, up here we kind of instantiated this list, and this is saying if our interest lines up with the current attraction tags, if our interest is in the list of attraction tags for the particular attraction that we're looking at, we want to take that empty attractions with interest tag and append this current attraction we're iterating over. And it looks indented weird right now, but let me just... Hold on. There we go. That looks much better. So now it's correctly indented. But I can't see the directions. Let me move this over here. There we go. Okay. 46. At the end of your function, return attractions with interest. Remember to unindent so you don't accidentally return before both the for loops finish running. So we're out of this if statement. Currently then out of this for, because look, we're lined up like that. And we want to get out of this for. So we're currently out of for and on the same level as attractions with interest. So let's return it. So what this is going to do is it's going to iterate through all the attractions in the particular city that we're in based on the destination. And for all of our interest that we pass in, if our interest is included in this particular attractions tags, then it's going to take it and add it to our attractions with interest list. And this function is going to return that list. All right. 47. Let's test out our function. Call find attractions with Los Angeles and art as the two arguments and save the results to LA art. Okay. LA arts equals find attractions. Passing in the destination. Los Angeles, USA, and art as a list of our interests. Let's print LA Arts returns. One indent does not match any outer indentation level. Possible attraction is equal to attraction. You don't say. It says it's not indented properly. Call foul. Oh, now it's saying this isn't indented. Sweet, it worked. You might be wondering, where's it getting this LACMA Art Museum? Remember how we added all of these bunch of attractions when we copied and pasted? And remember that the list of interests that we passed in for this function was art. So we have our big list of attractions, and we're looking for all of the attractions in the city of Los Angeles. So there's two right now. Actually, there's only two. So there's Venice Beach, and the interest that we are looking for is art. And does Venice Beach have the tag of art? Nope. Does this attraction, LACMA, have the tag art? Yep. So let's return it. And that's what it did. It returned a list of attractions. In this case, it was just one list in a list. But still, here's the name of the attraction, and here are the tags. And because our interests include art, that's what we get returned here. A list with a list inside it. Now, if there were multiple attractions in LA with the tag of art, then there would be another element separated here by a comma. There'd be a comma right here with that other element or with that other attraction, but there isn't, so we only have one right here. All right, 49. We don't want to show the tags to our users when we recommend things to them, so let's just append the name of each attraction. In the body of Find Attractions, find where you append possible attraction to attractions with interest. Change this so you only append possible attraction 0, which will only append the name. Okay, so what it's saying is it's looking at this entire attraction. Remember what an attraction is made up of. It's made up of the name of the attraction. So remember, this right here is one attraction. And it is a list made up of the name of the attraction, as well as another list of tags associated with that attraction. And it's saying that, look, we don't care about the tags. Stop returning to us the tags. All we care about is the name of the attraction. So how do we access just the name of this one attraction? Well, we know how to do this in Python. We need to grab the 0th element in this list. The 0th element in this list is the name of the attraction, LACMA. So here, possible attraction, remember it's equal to an attraction list. Let's just pass in the name. So let's save that. This should only append the name of the attraction to this attractions with interest list. And will you look at that? All right. 50. Save and try rerunning your LA Arts test code with Python 3 script.py. Printing it now should just print the following, and it does. 51. Looks like we've got an interest finder. Let's save these changes to our Git repo. First, let's add script.py to the Git index using git add. Git add script.py. Git commit with a message of, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, but I know this is just second nature to me, that if you add something to the staging area, it means you're also going to say, hey, Git, take a snapshot of it too. So let's add that message there with the git commit. Sweet, so it took another snapshot. All right, 53. Now let's get to the main event, connecting people with the attractions that they're interested in. Define a function called getAttractionsForTraveler that takes a single parameter, traveler. Right. I'm going to remove this for now and define a new function. It's going to take one parameter, a traveler, colon. Save. 54. Let's separate out the traveler's data. Save the following data. Save the traveler station to the index element of 1 in the traveler list. Remember, this is just the way that we're structuring our travelers. So the 0th index element is the name. The first index element is the destination. So in this case, if we use test traveler, it would be Shanghai, China. Save. Save traveler 2 into a variable called traveler interests. Interest equals traveler 2. Save. 55. Call find attractions with the two arguments traveler destination and traveler interests. Save the results into traveler attractions. Going to use the function that we just built, and this is going to return us the names of the attractions for the city of this traveler. So we passed in a destination, remember? Attractions. Destination and interests. And we know this traveler's destination, and we know this traveler's interests. And we're setting this list of attractions that we're going to get back equal to this variable traveler attractions. 56. Create a new string. This is what we'll want to show our traveler when they open our application. Start with beginning just hi with a space afterwards. Save hi into a variable called interest string. Okay. Interest string equals hi. 57. Update interest strings to include the name of the traveler. The traveler's name can be found at traveler 0. All right, so this list that we're passing in traveler, apparently at the 0th index, or the first element in that list, is the name of the traveler. So what we're doing is we're saying, all right, take the string hi plus a space and add to it the element at the 0th index of this list traveler. So if I passed in Brendan into this list and the 0th element of traveler is Brendan, the interest string would now say hi space Brendan. 58. We'll want to add a little more to the interest string. Before we list the interests, add the following. This string. Okay, so let's add string. So it's going to say, hi, Brendan. We think you'll like these places around. And then the place that we're going to. Well, I know that. Traveler destination. 59. Lastly, we want to add the names of the places to go. Loop through traveler attractions, and for every attraction in the list, concatenate that attraction to interest string. You can add commas and spaces to interest string to make it more legible as well. All right. I'm going to copy and paste some code here, and I'm going to explain it in a second, so don't be alarmed. It's a lot of code. Okay, so let me just show you what I did here. And I have commas or comments here to explain it as well. Okay, so we've got to loop through all of the attractions. And so we have to, for each attraction, add it to this interest string as well. So, if we're going to LA, it's going to say, hi, Brendan, we think you'll like these places around Los Angeles, USA, colon, and then what we're going to do is for all of my traveler attractions, I'm going to list them out. So if I'm going to LA, it's going to say like Hollywood, what else? Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, Walt Disney Music Concert Hall, things like that. So I've got this interest string, set it equal to hi, my name, plus we think you'll like these things around, plus where I'm going, and then a colon, and then now it's time to kind of list all of the attractions in the city that are of my interest. And what does of interest mean? Remember, that means, does the tag of the attraction that I'm currently looking at, is that the list of my tags of of all my interests, does my interest line up with this current attraction? As in, does the tags in this attraction include, or sorry, Jesus. All right, so remember we have this interest string here, and we're just kind of pushing strings together. We're using some variables here. So, hi, Brendan, or whatever the traveler's name is, and wherever they're going, the traveler destination. We think you'll like these places around Beijing, Shanghai, Japan, Tokyo, whatever you want. And then after that, I've got this comma here. And let's read it. If last attraction in list, add a period, else add a comma plus a space. So I want to make sure that the data that I get returned back is formulated perfectly. If I have a list of attractions and it has multiple attractions, I want to space out each attraction with a comma. But if it's the last attraction, I don't want to add a comma after that attraction, because that would look weird. That's not how we use, that's not how we form sentences in English. If it's the last thing in a sentence, we usually add a period, right? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm adding another check inside this for loop. And let me explain the for loop before I do anything here. So I'm saying for I in range the length of traveler attractions. Now the length of traveler attractions is saying, all right, look at my traveler attractions list, and how long is it? How many elements are in there? And then what I'm doing is range. So let's say that traveler attractions is equal to 3. So there's 3 elements in my traveler attractions list. Length of traveler attractions would be 3. And if you pass 3 to range, what that is going to do is it's going to start at 0. So it's going to create a range from 0 up to 3, but not including 3. So it's going to basically be a list of 0, 1, 2, not include 3, because that's just how this range function works. And this for loop says, all right, for every element in this range that I just created, in this list that I just created, which is 0, 1, 2, 3 elements. So let's start at the 0th element in that list. So for the first time here, the first go around in this for loop, I would be 0. Second time would be 1. The third time would be 2. What do I want to do? Well, I want to see if the current sorry, I want to see if the current traveler attractions at the 0th index is equal to the last element in my traveler attractions list, which is signified by this -1. It says, all right, look to the end and then tell me what the last element is in this list. So that's what that -1 represents. If the last element in the traveler attractions list is equal to the current traveler attractions that I'm iterating over, then that means it's the last attraction in my list. And because English, when you formulate a sentence, you want to add a period to the end of something. You know, the sentence is over. This is the list of attractions. It's the Louvre, comma, what is it? The Eiffel Tower, period, right? We don't want the Louvre, comma, the Eiffel Tower, comma, and then for it to just end. That's just weird. So if it's the last attraction in my attractions list, add a period to it. So I have my interest string, and I say, all right, I know that my interest string is currently equal to this, and we're iterating through all of my attractions. For this current attraction, or this attraction at the index of whatever element I'm on, starting at 0, because when you use range, we're creating a list from 0 to the length of traveler attractions, not including 3. Remember, I said traveler attractions. The length of traveler attractions is 3. So when I say range, passing in 3, that says, all right, go 0, 1, 2, don't include 3, create a list from 0, 1, 2, and then I say for every element, uh, for each element in this range that I created. So starting at 0, it looks at the first element. So 0, the 0th element in traveler attractions, is that equal to the last element in traveler attractions? Nope. Okay, so it's going to hit this else statement. Then it's going to say, all right, I know what current attraction I'm on. We're at traveler attraction 0. Let's say it's the Louvre. So take the interest string and add the space Louvre, and then after Louvre, add a comma and a space. Now, eventually, when we get to the last one, it's going to be like, all right, I'm on the last one because the last element in the traveler attractions is equal to the one I'm currently iterating over. Sweet. Let's end it with a period. So that's kind of that extra stuff here. You don't have to do this, but I just think it looks nice. After you finish adding all the names of the interest, return interest string. Okay, so let's get out of that else and out of the for loop. And return interest string. Right, 61. Let's give it a test drive. Try calling get attractions for traveler, passing in this traveler list. Save the results to a variable called Smills France. And then let's print Smills France. Save that. And let's run the file again. Line 67, there is an error. Return outside function. Interesting. That's on the same level as this, and I want to invent it like that. Hopefully that fixed it. Nope. Turn outside of function. All right, I can just make sure this is all indented correctly. Because apparently it is not. Shoot. Unexpected indent. How? All right, take out these comments. Okay, so you see here, name error get attraction for traveler is not defined. That's true because the function is called get attraction for travelers. Save that. And again, I had some indent issues. Just make sure if you have a bunch of errors and it's saying indent issue, indentation error, make sure you look at where you're kind of starting these blocks of code, as in like there's a for loop or an if loop or an else or a return. Make sure they're just lined up with whatever's above them. So if they're inside a for or an if or one of these things, then they should be indented. And you can make it indented by kind of setting backspace till they're on the same line and then hitting enter. And that'll automatically indent them for you. So notice that the if and else are on the same level, but they're inside this for, and this return is actually on the same level as this for. Perfect. All right, and look what it says. Hi, Derek Smill. We think you'll like these places around Paris, France. The Arc de Triomphe. And I'm guessing, well, there's only one attraction here because there's nothing separated by commas. So it automatically sees that in this, it automatically runs this condition right here. This condition is true. The last element in the traveler attractions list is equal to the current traveler attraction that we're iterating over, and apparently the only one. So it uses this period here. You can see it right there. Right? Jeez, there we go. All right. 63, looks great. Thank you. Let's add it to our Git repository. First, git add script.py. Git add script.py. Step 64. Fit the message. Added function to generate message for traveler and present attractions they might be interested in. Alrighty. We have successfully built Boredless Tourists. So given a profile of a traveler, the name, city they're in, and the type of interest that they have, we look at our destinations list, and because we've mapped a bunch of different attractions to each particular destination, we're able to say, all right, this person is interested in monuments and they're currently in Paris, France. I know exactly where that list of attractions for Paris, France is located. And for all of the attractions that are in Paris, France, I want to see, are there any attractions that have the attraction tag of monument? If they do, great, add it to my list of traveler attractions. And right here, we want to say at the very end, all right, for every attraction in my traveler attractions list, all the attractions that are of interest to me because they are not only in the city that I'm in, but also their attraction tags line up with my interests. Sweet. Let's return this message formatted ever so nicely so that, if there are multiple attractions in this traveler attractions list, it'll comma space them. But if there's only one, or if it's the last one, then it'll end the sentence with a nice period. And that's it. This was a massive project, and I hope this was great practice for you in terms of working with lists, working with loops, working with functions, and just kind of Python in general and building out an app. And yeah, this is the building blocks of how apps work. This is the building blocks of how Yelp works, and things like Seamless even. It knows where you're at. It knows what type of food or filters that you're looking for, and based on your location, your price range, your filters, what type of cuisine you're looking for, it'll recommend a list of cuisines. And I mean, that's basically what we built right now. And that's pretty awesome. Alrighty, folks, so that's it for this week, and I will see you in the next project. Bye.